Hey cats and kittens, it's EDDBUD here, your favourite shoe surveyor and midsole masculator. Back today with an initial review of a do-it-all shoe. It's from those value victors, Reebok. Today we're going to check out the FloatRide Energy 3 Adventure. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel, or if it's your first time here, greetings. If you haven't done so already guys, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when we roll those new videos out for you. And it really does help the channel out too if you give this video a thumbs up like. Merci beaucoup. The Energy 3 Adventure. This one's been kindly sent over to me by Reebok themselves. I'm going up in the world. How are you doing? You'll still get my honest opinions though, they're not paying me to make this video or anything, so bear that in mind, my valued viewers. This one clocks in at 311 grams, which is 10.97 ounces, for my UK size 11, which is a US size 12. That makes it about 15 grams or so heavier than the original FloatRide Energy 3. This one's being aimed at more road to trail use, so slightly wider use case. It's only £10 extra as well. Only 10 more of your precious earth credits are needed to pick it up. This one's apparently cable grey and midnight pine and neon cherry. That's what it says anyway. We'll start with the upper first. This is where we see the biggest changes here between the Energy 3 and the Energy 3 Adventure. We have similar mesh around most of the shoe as we get in the Energy 3. A little bit thicker, but we have these plasticized sort of overlays which are mainly apparent around the toe box. It does make the shoe feel like it's got a little more room there at the front. The recycled upper here, which Reebok suggests is at least 30% made of recycled materials. I don't know what those things are. Old shoes probably. We have a similar lacing system here to the Energy 3, although these stretchy cord-like laces, I guess they do give a vibe of a trail shoe. They're certainly thinner and a lot more elastic than the standard ones. I would imagine they won't absorb as much moisture in wet conditions than the standard issue stuff that we get in the Energy 3. The tongue here is a little less padded, almost felt-like around the edges, but I didn't really feel any extra tension across the top of my foot from the laces. It is a slightly different shape, and I did get a weird sort of rubbing from the tongue. I had to use some slightly taller socks on my initial runs. Probably get rid of this weird pull tab that they've put on here. It's just completely unnecessary. You might want to wear some higher socks rather than those lower profile ones to avoid any rubbing. I actually find this shoe quite roomy guys. It does feel a little bit more roomy to me than the Energy 3 in the same size. So I would perhaps recommend going down a half size to get the right fit. I had to go with some thicker socks today, which ultimately isn't always my preference. I had to cinch the laces up quite a bit as well to get a good lockdown. I mean, it was great when I got it there, but I just don't really like having to pull the laces super tight. If you're going to be out there for more miles, you know your foot's going to expand a little bit, and what might be great in terms of tightness at the start of the run might not be towards the end. Maybe that's exasperated a little bit as well by that elastic feel in the laces. I do have to say I really like the looks of this shoe, aside from those weird pull tabs that they've added on there. They almost seem like a bit of an afterthought. They're featured on both the heel and the tongue. I may take them off, just a feature that's completely not needed with this shoe. So Reebok have gone with an interesting design here, rather than just trying to make some impervious sealed up upper similar to that we find on the Nike Shield offerings. The mesh here does still breathe quite a bit, so if you do get some moisture in there, it will escape through the panels on the medial and the lateral sides of the shoe. This frontal shielding here from those reinforced sections around the toe box, so the shoe didn't really get too hot or warm on foot over today's run. No issues here with the weatherized additions to the Energy 3 Adventure, but I'm just not dead set on those elastic laces and the pull tabs. Also, please do watch the sizing on this one. I probably could have got away with a 10.5 UK. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 3 for upper after my initial runs. Midsole now. So the midsole feels a little different to me than the original Energy 3. Am I just imagining it? Felt like there's a little less compression here, less squash, and a more stable feel, but perhaps that's down to the upper. I don't think Reebok have changed anything here from the Energy 3 standard version. Feels like the same foam. Maybe what I'm feeling is how the Energy 3 felt out the box when I first had it. Maybe that midsole material does free up a bit after some miles have been ploughed into it. Just becomes a little more pliable and compressive. Either way, it was nice and stable and cushioned out there on the trails today. Good impact protection traction, which is what you want. A little bit less present, I suppose, than the Torrent 2 from Hoka, and certainly a lot more nimble on foot than the Endorphin Trail. Not quite as much cushion underfoot as the G270 from Innovate, but then again those shoes are coming from quite a different sort of perspective. That's a 0 drop shoe, where this has a 9mm drop. It was fine on the forest floors, great on the gravel paths, and serviceable on the mud, though a touch unstable on some slippery wet grass. I do find the Energy 3 and the Energy 3 Adventure does urge me to perhaps put in a little bit more effort to reach some higher paces. Just feels a little bit more of an aggressive shoe. I wouldn't suggest it's like the best one ever for like a daily easy run shoe. There's a very similar feel between this and the Energy 3. Same midsole as far as I can see. The shoe certainly has some range of paces there. I did try and mix it up as much as I could today, though the midsole might be a touch too flexible for some serious trail enthusiasts. If you like that Energy 3 midsole, then this is just more of the same really, but with a bit of improved midfoot lock from the upper. I was a touch sceptical as to how this midsole would translate over across to a trail sort of setting, but it worked supremely well in all honesty. So I'll give it a 2.7 out of 3 for midsole, which is pretty much what I gave the Energy 3. Outsole now. And that outsole, to my old eyes, seems pretty much exactly the same as the Energy 3. There's little to no difference. I don't think the lugs are any deeper, anything like that. Putting them side by side here, they're absolutely the same. There's no difference whatsoever. The carbon rubber on the outsole of the Energy 3 proved to be very durable over the miles, but it does suck up dirt and grit in the little holes and cutouts. That's especially apparent at the back of the shoe. You're more likely to find muck like that out on the trails rather than roads. So in this scenario, it proves not quite as effective. It was a touch slippery on some grass sections today, but oddly effective in those muddy parts, and very grippy on the gravel. As such, I'm going to give this a slightly lower score than I did the Energy 3, simply because of that expanded use case. So I think I initially gave that a 2.7. I'll knock this down a little bit to a 2.6 out of 3 for the outsole after my initial runs. Value now. So at £10 extra, does it present enough to warrant a little bit more expenditure? I mean, you've got a slightly better lockdown over the top of the foot than in the Energy 3 original, but those odd laces, I suppose you could switch those out without too much problem. A touch more stable and very slightly more versatile in terms of the different scenarios you can use this shoe in. I mean, the changes here are quite subtle, slight gusseting on the tongue, those toe box reinforcements, the tried and tested midsole and outsole. Not quite the value offering of the original. I still find that one to be one of the best daily shoes of 2021, but a good capable road to trail shoe if that's something you need in your shoe rotation right now. A few moisture expelling or repelling qualities here, which could come in handy as we move towards that wet and windy winter weather. It's hardly a bank breaker still though, at 85 earth credits here in the UK, but perhaps the changes may not be things that every runner needs. As such, a slightly lower value score of 2.8 out of 3 this time round, due to the more varied use case which not everybody's going to want. So if I've totaled the scores up correctly there, that gives us 10.6 out of 12 for the Floatride Energy 3 Adventure. Just a little bit lower than the original Energy 3. Let me know if you'll be picking up the Floatride Energy 3 Adventure from Reebok. They certainly are the victors of value. A quick musical interlude for you. We're rewinding to 2017 this time with a fantastic album from Kurt Vile and Courtney Barnett. Lot of Sea Lice is such a great, relaxed and chilled out album. I always seem to return to it at some point every single year. I really like the tones on Over Everything and those sort of grindy, grimy, gritty guitar sounds that we find on Fear is a Forest. Other winners on this album are Continental Breakfast and also the fantastic Untogether. I believe that's a cover, that one. The styles of both artists just seem to go hand in hand. Their guitar sounds suit each other, the voices, just everything about the backings as well of each of the tracks just works so well. Go and check it out, guys. A Lot of Sea Lice by Kurt Vile and Courtney Barnett. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when I roll those new videos out for you. And it helps the channel out a massive amount if you give this video a thumbs up, like, and also share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you